In a world saturated with noise, visibility is a matter of survival. If people cannot see you, you effectively do not exist, and a person who doesn't exist has exactly zero power. The mechanics of influence dictate a harsh reality. Being despised by the masses gives you leverage. Being entirely ignored by them strips you of everything. To see how far you have to push this rule, look at Annapolis, Maryland in 1836. A young man in a black suit was running for his life through the streets, desperately trying to outpace a furious, surging mob. The crowd had cornered him, convinced he was a notorious mass murderer named Avery. They physically tore at his clothes, whipping his suit to shreds as he pleaded for his life. But the man wasn't a killer. He was P.T. Barnum, and the entire terrifying ordeal was a complete fabrication, a rumor intentionally started by his own employer, a circus owner named Aaron Turner. Barnum barely convinced the crowd to follow him back to the circus grounds to verify his identity. Once there, Turner admitted it was a prank. The mob, already whipped into a frenzy, stayed for the show, and the circus completely sold out. Barnum was initially furious, but the packed tent taught him a lesson that would define his career. He realized that raw notoriety, no matter how dangerous or controversial, guarantees an audience. Attention is the primary currency of influence. You have to capture it at any cost. Even if you have to temporarily play the role of the villain, securing the world's eyes is always the necessary first step. Years later in New York City, Barnum faced a new problem. He owned the American Museum, and he needed a way to constantly draw the gaze of thousands of distracted pedestrians passing by his doors. He hired a man off the street and gave him a highly specific task. The man was to take 5 bricks, place them at calculated points on the pavement outside the museum, and continuously walk in a geometric circuit, swapping one brick for another. Barnum gave the man one absolute rule: he was forbidden from speaking. No matter who approached him or what they asked, he had to remain completely silent and continue his strange loop. Within days, this inexplicable silent repetition broke the predictable rhythm of the street. Hundreds of curious onlookers gathered to watch the man. Unable to get answers from him, they followed his path right to the museum's entrance and bought tickets to find out what was happening inside. Spectacle rarely requires you to shout for an audience. Injecting a deliberate, unexplainable anomaly into a predictable environment is all it takes to hijack human curiosity. We see this dynamic evolve even further in Paris around 1905. In a sophisticated cultural capital, simple physical stunts were no longer enough to turn heads. The city was captivated by the sudden arrival of a mysterious woman who claimed to be a princess from the East. She performed an exotic, boundary-pushing dance that left European audiences mesmerized. She became an absolute cultural phenomenon almost overnight, performing under the stage name Mata Hari. The truth was entirely different. She possessed zero Eastern royal blood. She was a Dutch girl named Margarita Zelle. Paris was already saturated with conventional beauty, so she invented a new, exotic identity to ensure she stood out. To maintain her grip on the public, she constantly changed her backstory. In one interview, she learned her sacred dances in a temple. In another, her grandmother was a Javanese royal. She never allowed the press to pin down a single truth. Absolute clarity destroys interest. By operating as an unsolvable enigma, she forced the public to project their own wild fantasies onto her, elevating her from a mere dancer into an international obsession. But there is a darker edge to this game. Because visibility equates to power, attention operates as a zero-sum economy. To secure your own position, you must strategically starve your rivals of the spotlight. We see the brutal effectiveness of this tactic in 1915, when the Nobel Prize Committee planned to award their physics prize jointly to Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. At the time, Thomas Edison was already a globally recognized name. Sharing the stage with Tesla wouldn't have helped Edison, but it would have instantly elevated Tesla from relative obscurity into the international spotlight. Edison executed a ruthless countermove. He outright refused the award. Because it was slated as a joint honor, his refusal forced the committee to pivot completely and give the prize to two unknown English physicists instead. Dominance is the ability to control the visibility of the entire field, possessing the leverage to draw the light or cast every rival into permanent darkness. In the modern internet ecosystem, we see the critical limitation of this law play out every day. Raw attention is a highly volatile, unstable element. This graph illustrates the life cycle of modern viral stunts. Figures who perform extreme acts for fame experience a massive, violent spike in raw attention, followed immediately by a plummet to zero. They are treated as clowns because they lack an underlying foundation. Compare that failure to a highly calculated maneuver in the gaining space. A lesser-known player named Scout aggressively targeted an established giant named Dynamo, creating immense controversy, strictly to hijack his rival's massive audience. Once Scout captured that toxic, hostile attention, he executed a crucial pivot. He immediately backed up his loud claims with undeniable, elite-level technical skill. He then entered a whitewashing phase. By displaying consistent competence and utilizing calculated public relations, he systematically cleaned up the controversial spark that started the fire, turning his haters into dedicated fans. Viral fame is merely a breached door. If you do not immediately build a fortress of competence behind it, the public will inevitably evict you. The relationship between these forces is absolute. Attention is nothing more than the unrefined, combustible material you harvest from the crowd. Reputation is the permanent, protective armor you must forge out of that material to survive. You have to court attention at all costs to ensure you exist, but you must guard your reputation with your life to ensure you endure.
For more awesome and inspiring videos like this, please subscribe.